Hey, Nathan.
Yo.
I just want to make it very clear that this episode today is actually sponsored.
Ooh, we got a sponsor?
This is a sponsored episode by Podcorn.
Podcorn.
Podcorn. Podcorn.
Oh, what do they do?
Podcorn is a marketplace for sponsors, for people who want to connect. They want to connect podcasters and podcast sponsorship opportunities, like host read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and what we're doing right now, our pre-roll.
Wait. So they are trying to they're kind of marketplace for advertisements for podcasts, and they're like advertising on us. Like, that's kind of meta, right?
It kind of is, but it's really smart because a lot of podcasts are listened to by podcasters.
That's true.
So you're hitting a very valuable market by advertising on a podcast. So we got paid to talk about Podcorn, and honestly, I think we kind of got away with one, Nate.
Ooh, hey.
Because I would have talked about them anyway, because they're awesome.
Yeah. That sounds actually very, very nice. And it's hard to find advertisements for podcasters, so this sounds like a great service.
It's a rapidly growing industry. It's going to a lot of money. The predictions keep going up about how much money is going to be pumped into podcasting in 2020. But one thing is for certain, a lot more than is right now. And Podcorn is one of the main ways that you can get in on that. Get your piece of the pie. You're out there making content, Nate. We've been making content for over 3 years now.
Yep.
Every week, every single Monday for 3 years, we've produced an episode of this show.
Yep.
And we historically haven't been paid for that.
Nope.
But now we are. Now we've been getting paid for that because of a lot of opportunities. And one of them is Podcorn. With Podcorn, there's no middleman. So us podcasters of any size, we can browse through their list, choose the opportunity that's right for our platform, for our audience, for what we believe in, and we can set our own rates, and we can collaborate with the brands directly. There's no exclusivity. There's no need for any of these games that a lot of other sites play. You just go in, you put in the bid. Here's what I want to get paid, and here's what I'm going to do for you, Mr. Brand, Mrs. Brand. And you guys work out the deal, and it's awesome.
That sounds very awesome. And getting paid, it's not everything. Podcasters will often do things for free because that's how we are. We do it for the craft, for the love. But, that little extra motivation is always a great thing.
It is. It really is. And even if it just covers the costs of producing the content, like if you just like producing the content, I love producing the content, then that's great. And I do this whether we're getting paid or not. I pay money to do this.
Yep.
If I can break even on that, that's a win. If I can start making money on it, that's an even bigger win. So my suggestion, Podcorn, podcorn.com/podcasters. It'll also be a link in the description. Click the link in the show notes, sign up to Podcorn, and start browsing sponsorship opportunities. Their mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize. And you, fellow podcaster, should be monetizing. The opportunity's there. Take it. Link in the description.
See you there.
Hey, Pepin.
Yo.
I've been thinking a lot lately about, you ever feel like just like sometimes these openings don't work right?
Yeah, like all the time, like every single opening we've done.
Wow, now I'm offended and don't feel inspired.
Actually, a couple of those were pretty great, to be honest. Like that one that was like funny and we laughed and it was so great. I think about it from time to time, but I can't remember what that one was about.
Dolphin milk. You were laughing at that one. That one caught you off guard.
It really did. I hate when you catch me off guard.
That's one of my favorite things. But I feel like a lot of people don't know like what goes into this. I feel like when people come on as guests and it's their first time on a podcast or just on our podcast and they've heard it before, they're not expecting like most of what we do is just ad-libbed.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange because there's so much that goes into podcasting, like little things. Like when we had Mason on the last time, or Fishstick, as he's more commonly known.
His Christian name.
Is that his Christian name?
Yep, that's what's on his birth certificate.
Oh. So it's like there's so much behind the podcast that people don't think about. Logistics, because it's a whole art in itself. And we're not saying like we're amazing.
I'm saying that.
Okay. We are amazing. We're better than average, but it's
So there's something about saying we're better than average that's worse than saying we're amazing.
But they're not mutually exclusive, right? If you're better than average, you are not amazing, right?
Not necessarily.
I mean,
Does it straight? You know what, Nate? We need to talk. Welcome back. So glad you guys could join us. I am here once again with my best friend, Nathan Pepin. How's it going today, Pepin?
yo, doing well. I have energy today. Yep, because, we don't have branded drinks here.
No, because of your non-branded strawberry watermelon drink.
It's C4. It's explosive.
Okay, well, I hope we're getting paid for that ad. And so, I feel like that was a solid 6-minute opening.
It was very solid, and so much content in there that you can't even listen to the rest of the episode. You're just filled up and have to take a break.
Now, what happens when you are? I wanna go behind the scenes a little bit. I want to start backwards because I want to start talking about editing first. Because like we talk a lot, and I say a lot of real bad things that you take out because I'm not good on the talking. And then sometimes we're coughing and that has to come out. So like what's the editing? Like how much actual editing goes into an episode of We Need to Talk?
So the editing has gotten less and less the better we have gotten.
Ooh.
When we have guests who aren't so, I'm not going to say they're not great, because this is the thing. You can have a guest on who is an amazing guest. They can provide great, funny moments, content and everything. But if they are having bad mic technique, if they're stumbling a lot, or if they're interrupting someone a lot, it creates more work in editing. And of course, you can not edit those things away, but then the final product is not as good. So our ideal, and this has gotten a lot better, like the first couple episodes we had, we were always just kind of mumbling and and nothing really kind of coalesced into something that coherent. Nowadays, we actually can leave most everything in the way it is. We have good mic technique. Ironically, we didn't have that great of mic technique when we were at Fishstick. All three of us being like, semi-professional, Fishstick professional.
Fishstick's like super professional.
Us, semi-professional. We just got way too into conversation.
We've been doing this for what, 3 years?
Yep.
Like that's, I mean, when have we hit our 10,000 hours yet?
Let's hope so. So the editing is not that hard, but the goal is to make it not hard by just producing good quality content. And part of that is allowing people to talk. So when people interrupt each other a lot, it creates lots of like stops and starts, and those aren't fun to listen to from a viewer's perspective. And there's an idea I had, and I think I wrote an article for Podcast NH about this.
Okay.
Or Podcast USA, where you want to pass the mic over to somebody.
Yes, absolutely. It is on podcastusa.org under the podcaster resources section. Highly recommend it. Nate's actually written a few articles over there. Go check him out. Check out his website while you're at it. It's at the bottom of any one of the articles that you've written. You also did a review of these headphones recently.
Oh, yep.
And that was actually a really, really thorough review. You gave some good points. You gave some bad points. You gave whether you would recommend it or not. So highly suggest checking that out. We are streaming live to Facebook right now. I just want to throw that out there. Travis Ashley, meter for the win. You know what? I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a really good sentiment. Really important. So you're saying that the editing doesn't start when you're in Studio One after the recording is done. The editing starts live. We're doing the editing right now in part.
Yep. And also the editing is not only like in the moment, right? But it's kind of like intra moments. So, for instance, let's say I am starting to talk about something and then go like that, right? So I could keep continuing the sentence. I could say, and and blah, 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 blah. And then he said this. Like, I get back to my groove. But that doesn't really work in a podcast because how am I supposed to, like, fix that? Like, I have this unusable part of audio and I'm combining it with a usable part of audio. I can't amalgamate those two. So what we say and what we always recommend our podcast guests to do is if they start a sentence and it just sucks, like which happens, it happens to all of us. So and then stop, take like 1 second and then just start again, right from scratch.
And we'll act like nothing happened.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck because it sounds better in the post production.
Because I do it almost all the time.
Yeah. So one thing about Steve that's kind of nice is
I'm getting compliments.
so I don't know if you do this on purpose, but sometimes when you're trying to formulate a thought, you'll have like a little bit of mumbling at first. So you're like, and then let's see, and then I said this. Like you have this like little preamble, but then you actually go into what you're saying, but you always have a pause between those two.
Well, that's beautiful. So you're saying I'm like the Declaration of Independence?
Yes. You make your coherent parts independent from the other parts.
We the people, in order to serve a more perfect union.
Yep. Better audio, and you know, and it's not that like these little like phrases like mumbling and stuff like that is bad, because oftentimes going like I don't know about that. Is that really the case? Like someone might think to cut that out.
No, that's in content.
Yeah, that's content because it's me thinking. Or geez, I don't know. Like the geez.
Well, that's too hot. That's the problem with that one.
There's a problem with that one?
Yeah.
How?
It was too sexy.
Oh, wow.
Guys, it's early. So, okay. So it's not just about, editing out things. It's about knowing what to edit out and what not to edit out. And maybe earlier on in this show, in the earlier, say the first 50 episodes, that was harder to discern. Maybe you would have cut more, but now you're seeing the value in some of the things that a lot of people cut out.
Yep.
I think it also depends on the what your show is about too, though, because if you're doing a a documentary style, what was the one that was in New Hampshire, Bear Brook. There, he wouldn't want to have any of that unless he's doing an interview, and that's cool because within the same show, when he's doing narration, you don't want ums and stuff like that in that. You don't want thinking in that. But during an interview, you definitely want that, because somebody saying in an interview could mean a ton when you're trying to figure out what are they saying, what do they mean.
Yep. Malcolm Gladwell has a point about this.
Of course he does.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting because what he was saying is, he was criticizing Donald Trump Jr. for not doing questions after a book tour or something like that. They do the speech and then you take questions after.
Yep.
And he was saying that the whole point of doing a speech like that is to take the questions after, because it shows that you actually know what you're talking about. It shows how you handle questions on the fly and that you actually understand the material you're putting out. Mm-hmm. So in that case, if someone asks you a question during a speaking phase, having those ums and ahs, it's fine, because it shows a validity to your thoughts. Mm-hmm. It's kind of conducive to how you actually conceptualize your ideas. And it's conducive to the actual communication of those ideas, how you're thinking about it and everything. But if you're trying to just get across information, just pure information, those ums and ahs aren't really that interesting or that real conducive. If you have a science documentary and you're trying to talk about black holes, you don't really want the scientists thinking, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, black holes are...
Well, in an interview, yeah, for sure. But the narrator... No,
not the narrator.
Well, I feel like it's okay. I feel like we haven't made it okay in our society to not sound like you're 100% confident and to not be able to say, I don't know. And I don't think that's okay. I think you need to be able to tell people, I don't know the answer to that question, even if you're the expert. Mm-hmm. And to me, that gives you more validity. If you're I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find out. I'm going to do my research.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you slightly in the context of a documentary.
Okay, well.
Because in a documentary, you have little snippets here, right? So if you have snippets where someone is continually trying to find their place in their thoughts, that kind of shows it gets the impression they don't know what they're talking about as much, whereas the statement of fact might be very true. If there's a long form interview, you can kind of get the person's thinking in general. It's long form, so you can understand they're thinking about this and everything. So I think that's the differentiator there between.
So even when you're talking about something consistent like an interview,
yeah,
it's not always black and white of, well, it's an interview, so you can leave that in, because if you're just doing sound bites, if you're doing smaller clips,
yeah,
to interject and support something that's stated by the narrator, by an expert, then at that point you wouldn't want any of those ums and ahs.
Right.
And that's really valuable both in our industry and in what you do. I think that's extremely valuable. That's something I wouldn't think of it that much. I do my best to understand the concept, but I appreciate that insight because that's something I wouldn't have even considered.
Yeah, and you can see this in a lot of editing techniques that they use with news. So they will do like a long form interview usually with guests, and then if they want to make a guest look good, they will take out that preamble or they take out the thought, and they will just cut to the point, right? So the point is strong, and the point's always going to be strong if it's a good speaker or good presenter. But if they want to make someone looks worse, then they ask the question, and then they put the preamble in there, and they don't extend it, but they put the preamble there in those like sound bites, and the sound bites kind of make it seem like this person took a second to think about it, they're hesitant, and that they aren't as confident. They can run up against people where they edit it in a way to make them look more confident, and that's where it doesn't work as well with the sound bites. Like the different editing styles have an effect on how that person comes across. Again, if it's long form content, it doesn't matter as much because you actually kind of want that because you want to know how this person thinks.
I see. So it's not only that it doesn't matter as much, but that it actually adds value.
Yeah.
And that's huge. So how long does it take to produce an episode of We Need to Talk? Let's say, because we usually run between 30 and 45 minutes right now.
Yep.
I think we used to run closer to an hour.
Yep.
But then we got lazy.
Well, it's more like our schedules are really hard to get to intermix, and so what we record like once or twice a month.
Yeah, but we sit down for like 3 hours.
Yep.
Each time.
We batch the episodes. We just go straight. We've done like 5-hour recordings before.
That's unreal.
Yeah, and we did it with one guest, and they got really burnt out.
Yeah, I mean, I get burned out after 2, so I can't imagine bringing on a guest who's not used to that.
And so the process from there is we record it first, and then we always try to do like a short episode. We'll say 15 minutes, and then that goes on for an hour.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
That's always the process.
That's always.
It doesn't matter how little there is to talk about that episode. We could talk about like butterfly wings, an hour-long episode.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about butterfly wings.
Do you?
Yeah, they always look like they have eyes on them, and that's like a predator-prey related thing. Prevents them from getting eaten.
Huh.
And the flap of a butterfly's wing could make you not be born.
Oh, butterfly effect.
Butterflies in the sky. I can go twice as high.
Is that a reference?
Take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. So let's talk about equipment a little bit. A lot of people get really interested in equipment. Talk to me about what you have going on here, because you have a lot of fancy equipment and you know how to run it all, which is insanely impressive to me. I have at my house one interface with one mic plugged into it and headphones coming out of my computer.
So when you're talking about equipment, are you talking about recommendations for other people or just about how I'm running it?
Let's say if they wanted to get the exact same sound quality that we currently have, like what is the equipment we're using? These aren't the same mics, so clearly using the exact same mic isn't mandatory.
Right.
That mic is way more expensive than this one. This one's fairly cheap. These headphones, super affordable. These headphones are underpriced.
Yeah.
No question. These guys are not paying us at all to say any of this. There is a sponsor. We'll drop in the sponsor. Maybe it'll end up happening right now. That was just for you to be able to edit it in. But these headphones are really, really impressive, and I personally recommend them, and Nate does an entire review of them on the site.
Yep. So, okay, I'm going to try to start at the beginning.
Okay, that's a good place to start.
All right, so the first thing you kind of want for decent audio quality is a audio interface and a computer. So the computer can be a laptop, it can be a desktop computer. It just has to be like a reasonably decent computer. It can't be like a piece of shit. If it's a piece of shit, try it, good luck, and yeah. But, $500 computer should work well. If it's more than 10 years old, good luck. It might work just fine, but I can't guarantee anything. So you can get an audio interface, and most audio interfaces nowadays are good enough so that they will have good sound quality no matter what. It used to be the case that there was a big difference between the cheap ones and the more expensive ones. nowadays, unless you go for like a $20 one, you're gonna get decent quality. Tascam is a good brand, and also PreSonus. Behringer has some good audio interfaces. They actually have one that's a $30 one that I've been using, and it's a more simple one. It only has like 2 inputs, and one input is only a 1/4 inch, and the other's like a 1/4 inch and a mic input. But it's still actually a very good sound quality, and it's more like a utility interface for myself. The main interface I use is called the Tascam US 1608, and this one has like 8 mic inputs, and it's got like 2 line inputs. Actually, it's got 8 line inputs and 6 outputs. It's pretty extensive, and essentially this thing can do anything I would need to. It can record almost a full band if I wanted to, and most people don't have to go that extensive into it. This is just because it seemed like a good value. It's only $300, and it connects up to computer via USB, and you can connect, say, dynamic microphones, which are generally what we recommend more for beginners because they're a bit easier to get the sound quality reduced. If you have decent sound panels up like we do, the condenser ones, or good mic technique, these condenser ones sound a bit better, and they're pretty easy to set up. But it doesn't really matter what you get set up with. Just buy like a decent mic interface.
So what exactly is an audio interface?
So an audio interface is essentially a device that takes the signals from the microphone. So the microphone works by, it has a plate, and the plate will receive the vibrations from the sound, and it goes back and forth, and this creates like an analog signal. So just think of like a wave. And so that wave gets transmitted to the audio interface, and that audio interface will translate those waves into a digital ones and zeros. And what's important for that is that these ones and zeros, like that conversion from the wave of the analog into the digital ones and zeros, like that's it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do because a lot of times, like especially back in the day, like that conversion from the analog into the digital would suck. Like the algorithm wouldn't be very good, the technology wouldn't be very good, and you'd have like kind of shit sounding conversions. Actually, when you have a normal mic, so most mics you just plug into your computer, like the headset ones, it's the same sort of thing. So you have a analog interface, and then plugs into the mic input, and the mic input will convert that into a digital signal. And a lot of times it doesn't sound as good because those digital audio conversions aren't that great. They're getting better and better, so a lot of like PCs now can actually do a good job with that. But the big difference is level of control. So if you're doing just a one-person podcast, it might just be best to get like a Yeti mic or something where you can just plug into USB or plug it into your just computer, and that would work just fine. But for more extensive stuff, it's hard to control multiple microphones at the same time. So a digital audio workstation has, like this one has 8 different mic inputs. So you can have 8 different ones, control all the gain levels. So you can make this one louder, that one softer. If we have a third person here, we can have that one softer. We can have monitoring. So right now we can hear what's happening in the headphones, and this gives us an idea of how loud, how soft we need to speak. And we also can record the sound easily and have it at the super high quality, as opposed to just using the computer interface, which it might work if you have a single one, but the quality level and also what you can interface with that, say mic quality, is going to be limited.
So it's a way to plug the microphone into your computer.
Yeah.
And multiple microphones at once in our case, or up to 8 on yours.
Yeah.
So these all use XLR cables.
Yeah.
That's what these little cables here are for those watching the stream. And they all plug in there, and then that plugs into the computer, and it records straight from there. So, okay, so that's pretty and you have a Tascam. It looks like you really like Tascam. I know that you had given me your old Tascam when you bought this new one. You also have a PreSonus and a Behringer. So you're testing out a few different brands and seeing what works, but it sounds like you like all 3.
Yeah. And like I said, obviously there are some differences between different interfaces, but nowadays it doesn't matter too much so long as you just get something which is not like a cheap piece of shit off eBay.
Fair enough. And then you use Studio One 3.
Yeah.
the third iteration of the program called Studio One. And most people use Audacity.
Yeah.
That's actually like an industry standard at this point because it's free.
Yeah.
And I remember Audacity back when we were in high school. We would use
yeah.
Audacity to record stuff.
Yep.
So that's just a solid program. So do you think that people need to go out and buy a recording software to make high quality sounds? If we didn't have Studio One 3, would Audacity be good enough for producing the content we produce?
I would say it would be good enough, but there are free alternatives out to Audacity. So Studio One has Studio One Prime, which is free, and it's limited functionality, but for audio, like editing basic audio, the interface and the capabilities are much easier to deal with than Audacity. So I'd honestly recommend that over Audacity. I mean, Audacity is just fine. It's good. There might be some additional steps you might have to do because I don't think that comes with like an MP3 export, but technically Audacity doesn't come with an MP3 export. You have to like sideload that in. So Audacity is not bad. Definitely use it if you love it. But, there's nothing special about Audacity. It's just one of the easier free ones. And I think Studio One is trying to get in there with the free. And also they're hoping that you like Studio One, you want the additional features, and, you upgrade to that, which Studio One's very cheap as well. I think if you start getting annoyed with Audacity and you have $50 lying around, just buy Studio One or some other DAW. I think Studio One is probably the easier one to use the whole bunch.
I got even better for you. There's a link on podcastusa.org, podcaster resources. I have an interface on there, and that interface is pretty cheap, and it comes with Studio One.
Yeah.
And you get like a couple of licenses too. You don't just get the one. You may actually get 2 or 3, and then you could sell them, give a couple out to other people. You could use one to hold a contest. There's a lot of opportunity there. So if you're looking at getting something a little bit better than Audacity, Studio One 3 is not super expensive, and it's a good program.
Yep. And the thing about digital audio workstations, which essentially is just where you edit your audio, is you're going to be spending a lot of time editing your audio if you're doing a podcast or any sort of like multimedia sort of thing. And so having just something which is easy to use and quick and not cumbersome, because when I used to use Audacity, it was a little bit cumbersome. In certain things, it's hard to figure out what's happening in it. With a digital audio workstation like PreSonus Studio One, it's easy to figure out what you're doing and it's much easier to do things from reverse things. I think the reversing things is also another big factor, but you can make anything work if you want. I mean, Audacity is just fine. If you want to just use Audacity because it's super free and easy, definitely just use Audacity. The other thing with Studio One, which is nice, and I think Prime also comes with this, is there's lots of built-in effects, which is built-in effects with Audacity, but there's a bit more of a learning curve with Audacity, and it's a bit hard to do because it's not like a plugin where it's last I haven't used Audacity in a couple of years, but with Audacity, usually what you do is you apply like an effect to it, and then it applies it just there, and you can't like remove the effect without just kind of going back. Like it's kind of like you take a picture and you pixelate it, and you can't unpixelate it after the fact. Whereas with, say, most digital audio workstations like PreSonus Studio One or Cubase or whatever you want to use, you can like apply a plugin, and then you can take it off, you can change it, you can make lots of adjustments to it without, pixelating it and not being able to unpixelate it.
Right on. So let's talk microphones real quick. So we're using 2 completely different microphones. Yours looks like the MXL 990, which is a very nice microphone. What does that run?
About $100. Actually, I think it's cheaper now, like $80.
Wow.
It's actually pretty cheap.
Well, we may be buying another one of those because I really like that one. That makes the bass sound very good.
Yep.
In anybody's voice.
Yep.
And then this must be newer.
Nope.
No?
Nope. That's the Audio-Technica A2020, right?
Oh, okay.
Actually, I gotta check this now. Yep, AT2020.
Okay, and both of these are very good mics. I know we do have some new ears. That's what I use at my house.
Yep.
And those are great as well, and those are wicked cheap.
Yep. The new ears, they have a bit of a tinny feel, but honestly, they're like one of the best values you can get, especially if you're starting, because they come with these mic stands right here. So these like little things right here, and scissor arms. It comes with this, like the just shock mount, and then the mic, and then I think that comes with the pop filters, which definitely get a pop filter if you're first starting out for certain, because the biggest issue with a lot of podcasts is they don't have pop filters. And okay, let me just do this, shield your ears. So without a pop filter, this is what happens. Without a pop filter, okay, I'm gonna have to edit that down because it's gonna sound so bad, but
okay, yeah, but your voice sounds great. It sounded like super bassy and nice.
Yeah, but without the pop filter, it
pops.
It pops, and then what happens is if you don't do proper editing for the audio, you might have like super low, and then all of a sudden, boom, high.
Yeah, that's no good.
And then the person has to turn the volume down every time you get to a pop, but then you turn it down, then you have to turn it up, then you have to turn it down, you have to turn it up, and it's a whole big mess.
Yeah.
And you don't want that, so get a pop filter, get a decent stand. You can get these arms that kind of attach onto a table, which are very nice. And the shock mounts are nice because then, like, you can move the table around. You can hit it. It doesn't actually affect the audio for the most part.
And if you have inexperienced guests, it's pretty much a guarantee they're going to bump into stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you have me, because I hit the mic all the time.
And with me and Steve, like, let's say we don't have a pop filter. Like, we can be fine without a pop filter because we know how to kind of work the mic. So, like, when you get to the P sounds, you kind of, like, look away to the side. There's actually that famous video of Tay Zonday who did Chocolate Rain. Tay?
Tay.
And so he's like, I look away, when I do these certain sounds.
Oh, he did it to breathe.
Well, yeah, but, he also did it to... Did he just do it to breathe?
That's what he literally wrote in the little text.
Okay, so I'm retconning this, but
fine.
He did it to avoid the pops.
Avoid the pops when he was making Chocolate Rain. That's the name of the song, Nathan.
I know the name of the song, but the way he said that, it didn't sound right.
Why?
Because it sounds like he's just like having a really nice shit.
What? Why you got to take it like that?
I know it's such a really bad shit because it's like, Chocolate Rain. It's like diarrhea.
Oh my God, Nathan. Why does it always come down to this with you?
Diarrhea?
We're talking about Tay Zonday. We're talking about microphones, and you're talking about diarrhea.
Well, that's the way you implied it, though, right?
No, it's not at all. I was talking about Chocolate Rain, the hit song from the early YouTube days by Tay Zonday, who later went on to do Dr. Pepper commercials.
Did he?
Yes.
Wow.
And he was in South Park that one time.
Was he?
Yes.
This is amazing.
Man, you're learning so much about Tay Zonday.
Oh, man.
Think about all the useless shit I have in my brain.
See, I saw him on, like, an episode of, like, Fine Brothers React, and I'm like, oh, I guess they got, like, ancient YouTube stars back.
I like Tay Zonday. He's cool.
He's pretty chill. He's got, like, a really nice voice.
I'm super jealous of his voice. Someday my voice will be his. I'm going to rip out his vocal cords and stick them into mine.
Oh,
That's how it works, right?
I did see a video of him on Jimmy Kimmel or something, and he went out there and sang Chocolate Rain, and it seemed like everyone thought he would be like a comedy singer, and so he sings it. It's like the serious song, and everyone's just kind of like feeling awkward after.
So somebody didn't do their research.
It's like, oh, that was depressing.
Oh, it's the funny YouTube guy, like Black Oppression.
Well, you think Chocolate Rain is gonna be like a oh hey, this is a weird meme song, right? Nope.
Well, kinda, but also not.
Nope.
So let me tell you about Podcorn. They help podcasters find sponsorship opportunities. They are paying for this ad right now that I'm telling you. They're paying us to talk about them to you. Now, they're not paying me to say anything good or bad. They're just paying me regardless. I personally love this service. I've used AdvertiseCast in the past. Great service. Podcorn, I have seen the most actually happen from right out the gate. And I know I'm not the only one. There are others on Podcast New Hampshire even that have seen great success using them. So I highly, highly recommend Podcorn. It's a marketplace connecting podcasters and amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities such as host read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. With Podcorn, there's no middleman. That's really the best part. You're talking directly, you have all of these advertisers up on the site, and you're talking directly with them. You're pitching to them why your show, you're setting the prices. It's all extremely, extremely easy to follow. They set the timeline that they want the episodes to be released in. And then if you can fit that timeline and the type of read that they're looking for, then they very well may hire you. You can collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities. You never give up the rights to any of your podcast. And Podcorn is there to support every step of the way and to ensure that you're protected, compensated for the work that you do. Listen, you guys are out there making content right now. You're out there making content. Get paid to do it. There's no excuse anymore now that Podcorn exists. Go out there. Get into the marketplace. Their mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize. And even if you want to make $10 for producing an episode, guess what? You're not making $10 right now. Maybe you are, and maybe you can charge more, but maybe you're not. Maybe you just want to get your foot in the door. Maybe you just want to see how it goes. You find a brand on there that matches well. There were 88 new brands on there when I woke up this morning, people looking to buy ads. Head on over, podcorn.com/podcasters right now. That link will be in the show description. Click the link in the notes, sign up podcorn.com, and start browsing sponsorship opportunities. Get paid. Podcorn, it's popping off. Who is it?
Can I come in?
Who is it?
It's the FBI.
Yeah, come on in, FBI.
All right.
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Whew. Man.
So, is there anything else about the setup, about the recording aspect of things, the editing aspect of things that we haven't touched on that's important to be mentioned?
All right, so I don't think the mic quality matters as much as it does how you use the mic. Because we used to work with shit mics, and it was terrible because we had terrible working up the mics. I mean, I think I was a little bit better because I had done some recording myself, but it's the working of the mics which matter more. So with the new ears, you can do pretty well. And also, if you edit the audio just to EQ a little bit, you can get that tinny sound like out of there. And the tinny sound isn't even that bad. Like, I don't think people would listen to that and say this is like, tinny sounding. The other thing is you want to have good headphones. So like these headphones, and you want to have an interface that allows you to monitor the audio. And in my review of these headphones, it's actually a very easy way to do this. Like, actually, we're doing it right now. Like, I'm actually connected to Steve here, and we just have this split like this. And you're giving me a weird look.
I'm giving them a reaction.
Oh, okay. So it's easy to split the audio and to actually hear what you're saying, because right now I can actually hear what I'm saying. So I'm monitoring my audio and I'm making sure I'm not too loud, not too soft. And when I get up and close like this, I can change the volume.
Ooh.
Or
sultry.
When I get kind of further away and start yelling, I can kind of control that. But essentially, as soon as you think you start peaking or you're not loud enough, you kind of fix that by getting closer or getting further away. And when we have guests on, we try to, or at least I try to direct them, because with certain mics, you need to know whether you need to be like straight ahead or not. You can get more to the side, or whether you need to be further back, because there's one mic we have, or we've used before, where it's like, if you start going this far away, like this one doesn't sound too bad. This is a little too soft, but there's some ones where you have to be right up close to it for it to actually sound good, or otherwise it just picks up the whole room, So having good mic technique and not being too far away, not too close, and just using what you're hearing in the headphones as feedback is really all you need for good audio.
Monitoring is very important. I think something that I've seen and I've addressed twice in the past month, and for those who are listening audibly to the podcast version, this isn't going to be as helpful, but it's super important if you're watching the live stream or now or live or later. We have here a condenser microphone, and you can see it standing straight up and down. And I've seen a million people who have their mic turned in a way that they're talking into it like this. And then all of a sudden they have really bad quality to what they're saying, because instead of it talking into where the recording is, where that plate is that you were talking about that vibrates, they're talking around it. So it's picking up the room noise and the reverb rather than picking up the actual voice. So it can change your entire recording. It can make your audio quality sound go from amateur to professional just by not holding the mic wrong. And most people wouldn't know. Most mics, you have one of these dynamics here, and you're supposed to sing in here. You're supposed to talk into the, right into this part. And that's what you would think here. And I've seen it on Amazon. They have a condenser microphone.
Yeah.
And that's how they have it set up. They have it set up on the shock mount and the pop filter showing going over the top. Like, they're not helping themselves by, people aren't going to get good mic quality because they don't know how to use it right if you're showing them the wrong way.
Nope. And I've seen professional recorders, people who have like some of the best equipment out there using their mics wrong. And
it's so sad to see.
I mean, in their case, it sometimes it works just fine for them because they have the whole studio with soundproof, but they have to increase the gain. But they could get better quality if they just actually use their equipment right. And going back to monitoring with that, so the easiest way to get your best quality audio is, plug in your headphones, monitor the audio, and then this is what I do. So I talk into the microphone here. And then I will just kind of start talking in different places in the microphone. Oh, hey, that sounds a little more tinny. That doesn't sound as good. Oh, hey, this sounds kind of like a bassy. It doesn't really sound like it has the clarity. Not here, not here, not here, not here, not here, not here. Oh, hey, this is where it sounds best. And that's because this one is a, unidirectional microphone. So it sounds best from one place right here in front of it. There's some microphones that I could be actually on either side, this side or that side, and it'll sound just fine. And you'll see people who are doing duets, kind of singing into the same microphone like that, and that can work.
That's romantic.
Yeah.
Can we get one mic for the both of us, and we both talk into either side?
Well, yes, but we have to hold hands.
Okay, I'm down. We'll make that happen.
So there's different microphones that have different things like that. Read the manual, number one. It'll tell you how to use it. But number two, if you're not certain, just use the monitoring and just experiment with the microphone and find out how it sounds best for you, and then take that best sound and make it better. Because if you're doing podcasting, your sound is what you're kind of selling. The content's number one, what you're selling. But if your sound's not good, you're not going to get many listeners unless you have fucking amazing content. Even then, probably not.
No, that's true. You want to put your best foot forward, and that's a small change. Taking 10 minutes to learn your microphone, experiment with your microphone, figure out how it's supposed to be used. And you can always reach out to me on podcastusa.org or podcastnewhampshire.com. Send me an email and say, I would love a tutorial. I can Skype with you. I can go there in person. I've done that for a lot of people, and they found it beneficial. So I'm happy to do that. Just reach out to me. And if I ever don't know, I ask Nathan.
And one other thing with the microphone and learning how to use them is also learning how to set the gain. So when we do recordings, we usually have the gain up a bit higher because we're a bit more experienced with what we're doing. But if you are newer to the game, I would set your gain a little bit lower, to be honest. And that's because what's going to happen is inevitably you're going to start getting too loud. You're not going to have good mic technique, and you are going to start clipping. And if you start clipping, that's fine. And it happens, in our show once or twice, per show. But if you have your gain low enough, the clipping doesn't matter because it doesn't actually clip. It hits a peak, but that peak doesn't actually clip, and you can just bring that peak down. And the way most good audio interfaces are nowadays, you can actually have very, very low recording volumes and just amplify those up in post-production, and it will sound just fine, like nothing's different. There are some exceptions to that, because if there's a lot of room noise, or if there is, if you're doing it too low, then it's going to start getting in the way, because you'll amplify it up, and then all of a sudden there's just extra noise on top of it. So kind of finding that balance, but also just getting... You don't want to run too hot. You don't want to run too cold. You want to run somewhere, in the middle. But if you are clipping a lot, just lower it a little bit and just raise it in post.
I think that room noise issue is true of both ends. If you have your gain too low and you have to amp it in post, then you're going to get that white noise in the background.
Yep.
But if you have your gain too high, even if you have good mic technique, you're going to pick up ambient noise then too.
Yeah.
So you need to find, like you're saying, you need to find that Goldilocks, that middle spot that is not too low, not too high. I know sometimes I'm recording and at my house and there's somebody like outside working on their car. So their car will start periodically. So I have my gain set in a very specific spot where I know it's going to pick up my voice well. I will have to boost it a little in post, but it's going to pick up my voice well, and it's not going to pick up that car idling out just outside my room.
Yeah, yeah. And part of that also comes down to good mic technique, because ideally the level of gain should be one that picks up your voice pretty well, but nothing else, right? I don't want this mic extending beyond, say like a 4-foot range, especially. Like Steve's not too far away from here. Ideally, I don't want Steve's mic to pick up my voice, and I don't want, the vice versa, because it just makes the editing very, very easy.
Yeah. So if my mic's picking up your voice, there may be a minor echo. So in post, you're going to have to mute me every time you talk, and then mute you every time I talk. So if our mics aren't picking each other up, you can just let it ride and only have to make minor edits when you're taking something out or in.
Yeah. And for people who don't really understand what Steve just said, imagine you're like having a conversation in like the bathroom with somebody, and there's that kind of like the echoey kind of reverb feel. Like it's not too fun to.
Are we at the urinal?
Yes, we're actually in a.
Are we washing our hands?
We're in a hot men's sauna.
Wait. So are the men hot, or is the sauna hot?
The sauna's hot, but the men are hot too.
Oh, okay. So only hot men allowed.
Yeah. Well, and there's one okay woman in there. We don't know how she got there, but.
Okay, I'm listening.
3 out of 5.
There's 3 out of 5 women.
Yes, and there's 2 out of 10 men.
Okay,
and
yeah.
That
math checks out.
There used to be a dog there back in the day. His name was John, but he forgot his lunch.
So the dog had to go back home to get his lunch, and he just never came back.
Yeah. And
it's probably for the best. A dog in the hot man sauna.
And then he found the cat left the oven on, and it was all over from there.
So you're referencing a very inside joke.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Oh my god!
Do you want to tell the story? I mean, you brought up the story. We've talked a lot of shop. There's no...
What was the story?
I think you used that as an excuse to get out of something.
Okay.
Did you put that as like your aim away message too for a while?
Okay, so this actually goes.
He does remember the story.
I do remember the story, but I want to see.
Coy.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell anything. It's your show.
No, it's your show. It's our show.
Oh boy.
Okay. So, back in the day, I used to go on to Facebook. Not Facebook.
MySpace?
No. Facepunch.com.
Oh, Facepunch.
I didn't still used to plug it. I was going to say facebook.com/We Need to Talk Show. And yes, we can find us in all the new episodes in this live stream if you have Instagram. Ran out of breath. So, but I went to this forum called Facepunch, which is like a video game forum for a mod for Half-Life 2 called Gary's Mod. And it was just more than that. But this guy told a story about how I don't know, what was it? He was going to have like sex with some girl, and then something happened, and he needed a way to get out of it. So he said, oh, sorry, my cat left the oven on, and then he just kind of like ran.
So it became like a meme.
It became a meme. So I just started using that for like my excuse just to get out of things.
And it was effective.
Yep.
Why was your cat leaving the oven on though? What was he cooking?
I don't know.
That was Buttons?
Buttons. I like Buttons.
Buttons was cooking something in the oven, but he's forgetful.
Okay, this goes to like another subject. Okay. So we might do a part 2 of this tech talk, because I think we covered all the technical sides also, but I think it's more we could cover. But
yeah, we haven't talked about topics. We haven't talked about guests. We haven't talked about a lot of things.
Yeah. So I have a girlfriend.
Oh boy, bragging again.
Yep. And it's like this thing with my family right now where they're trying to like get me to marry her and get me to have like kids with her.
Yeah.
Which I guess was what family does, right?
Okay, sure.
And so I don't know if this is appropriate, but so we had the like Thanksgiving the other week, and I went over to see my dad, and he's like, so you and Laura working on a kid? And I just kind of like walked out the door.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, had you just gotten there and you immediately turned on,
Well,
spun on your heels, walked out?
We had been there for a little bit, but he said that, and I just like went outside and just walked out the door. It wasn't like a mean thing, but it's just kind of like, nope, not having this conversation.
Noping out of this conversation.
And I did the same to my mom, and I did the same to a couple other people. Like it's not like, is that rude?
Why not answer the question?
Because I don't want to answer the question.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that would make the problem go away pretty quick.
I'm just like, nope, let's get out of this situation.
Well, I guess that's fair. That's a fair response.
But yeah.
So Nate, you and Laura trying for a baby? Uh-oh. No one's gonna tune in to just the meter show, so. Wow, he is committed to this bit. So let me tell you about Podcorn.